Good morning. My name is Enzo Canari. I work for the Certification Directorate as Cabin Safety Specialist. I would like to acknowledge that we have been working on this subject together with Thomas Mantai for many years now. So everything you will see in this presentation is the result of the technical efforts that we have made together with the EASA management to tackle this issue, which is presence of battery-powered devices which are not part of the aircraft design and the associated fire risk that, of course, is introduced by the presence of these devices in occupied areas. And in particular, our efforts started with the flight deck. We will have some background information, what has been done in the last years, what we consider appropriate for certification projects in terms of releasing certification review items and introducing requirements on the sub-basis of the project, way forward for the initial and continuing airworthiness aspects of the problem, the main findings of what we have done in our investigations through the years with TC holders on the design of existing large airplane designs that we have certified in the past, and some next steps, what we mean to do and what we intend to do in the future to simplify and hopefully improve the approach we have for this issue. So regarding the background, it all started in May 2018 when EASA issued a continuing airworthiness review item, CARI 2509. It was addressed to DC holders to request them to evaluate the existing procedures and the design of the flight deck and identify set of measures necessary to address the hazard of a battery fire starting from PED transported in the flight deck. The idea was to collect information, identify any safety gaps, if needed, release ADs to correct any unsafe condition that we would identify. This still is the plan, so we come back to that later. But as part of this technical effort, we realized that introducing requirements dedicated to the design of the flight deck was appropriate, so we launched an internal effort to develop special conditions that were finalized in April 2022. And here you have the link. We released them as special condition G251585-01, but now they are designated as MTS 000419. I guess you will get more and more information on this new designation approach we have for policies that we use for certification projects. The initial airworthiness activities basically resulted in the publication of the special condition, which are significantly based on the content of the CARI. And then as part of the strategy, we decided to release an SIB, Safety Information Bulletin, to operators to highlight the fact that as a result of the discussions we had with TC holders on the CARI, we had identified design improvements and service bulletins were available, and we recommended the installation of these service bulletins at the earliest opportunity. And at the same time, we also highlighted that for electronic flight bags and existing STC approvals for the installation of EFB mounts, the battery fire risk had not addressed in the EASA project unless the special conditions were explicitly mentioned. So you know that the use of EFBs is authorized at operational level, and it's based on risk assessments which cover several risks, and one of these risks that has to be addressed is the battery fire risk. Now, we just meant to say that if you have an EFB mount installation approved by EASA, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have looked at the battery fire risk, because PED is not part of the design, and in previous projects we just stopped at the demonstration of compliance with the basic requirements in the sub-basis, so flammability of the EFB mount, static strength mainly, plus interference with the operation of the aircraft, flight controls, visibility, and evacuation. Now, the interesting point is that this strategy has been shared with other aviation authorities at every step before we released any single official document. And of course, EASA is leading on this topic. So we are not necessarily waiting to have an harmonized approach with other authorities. We have just decided to go on our way, and we think there is an important issue to be tackled, and we have also launched research to support our decisions. Now, maybe Nicola wants to explain how we intend to handle the special conditions in the certification projects.
So that's me, everyone. Hello again. For those of you who are involved in initial airworthiness projects, so I see some familiar faces on the first row, for example, you will understand what I'm talking about. For the others, please bear with me. I will try to be as quick as possible, but I will take as much time as necessary in order to let you understand what is our topic here. I know you're all very eager to hear about lithium batteries, but it is coming into the framework of more generic CRE policy that we have used for many years now, and that we are trying to renew a little bit. This evolution is aiming at getting less administrative burden for all participants in initial airworthiness projects. All of you who are using CREs, so certification review items, you know that those containers for discussions are related to a certain administrative burden. We are trying to reduce it for the case that there are little to no discussion. So 2 cases I want to show you. So the first tool in order to reduce the administrative burden is the following. We have on our website some publications. If you look on the bottom left of the screen, you have a link to the so-called EASA product certification, consultations and publications page. Google it, you will find it directly, and there you will find all those elements of certification basis, meaning equivalent safety findings, special conditions, deviations, all the other topics that we publish from time to time as we are discovering or working on rulemaking. So what's important is that there will be a publication, and as Enzo mentioned, there will be something called a reference. You can see on the bottom of this slide, a reference for a technical subject, a master technical subject. So what's going to happen in your next initial airworthiness project? There will be possibly a topic that's already published that's applicable in your project. And what we need is to make a short check of the criteria in the middle of this presentation slide. So first criteria, do we, as EASA certification team, accept that this particular publication is applicable to your project? Yes or no? That's the first criterion. The second is, if you go to this web page of ours with the publication, is there or is there not a master technical subject reference? This is also something that we are working on for the present and future publications. This is standard, but for those publications which are older, we are working on it. So it's not always the case. The particular case of lithium battery, this is already referenced with a master technical subject reference. And then, do you agree to take fully what on board in your project, what is in this publication? If it's okay, you have nothing to say about it, just we will comply with it. Okay, no problem. We can go to the bottom case where you see a yes, all the criteria are fulfilled, and instead of raising a certification review item, so in a nutshell, a supplemental document we all have to work with, you just put in your certification program the reference to this master technical subject. That's it. Afterwards, you treat it like any other requirement. You put it in your design data package, and you work on the compliance data as you would with any other requirement. For the case that one of those criteria is not fulfilled, then we will just keep with the regular CRE process. We raise a CRE, we have a discussion, we keep and we record this discussion in the frame of this document, and then we sign it and we use it in the frame of the project as you know it. Nothing particularly revolutionary here, but it is saving us a lot of time, you and us, if we don't have to raise and manage another additional document. So that will be the bottom case. So that's the first case. We have a publication, you can use it directly if all the criteria are fulfilled. The next case, and not the last one, afterwards we go back to the actual lithium battery topic, is that in the frame of an older project of yours, which is closed, you have used a CRE already. So there is a technical subject in this CRE, which was a topic of discussions and for which you have delivered compliance data. Project was closed, so meaning that your compliance data was acceptable. So again, we go through a list of criteria with the same goal to have less administrative burden and see if we can just use a reference instead of raising another document. So is it the same topic, yes or no? So we need all together to agree upon the applicability of this previous CRE in your new project. Is it your CRE or did this CRE come from another applicant? So that's a very important one. Is the certification basis compatible? So this is a tricky one. So it's probably not so easy to answer from your side. We need to have a discussion about it. To be very clear with you, the original criterion looked like we need to have the exact same certification basis. So more or less, we would have never gone through this process because you almost never have the exact same certification basis. So the question is having a certification basis that is similar enough so that we can rely upon this work from the past. Then, is it the same aircraft type? Not the same model, but the same type. And last but not least, are you going to take on board everything that was said and done in the previous project? If you want to amend it or take only part of it in your project, then we will have to say that one of the criteria is not fulfilled, and then we need to use a new CRE like we used to do in the previous projects, or regular situation. This is a no situation you see with the project 2. But if you make it to fulfill all requirements in the middle, then it's the yes situation, you have fulfilled everything. And then again, in your project, we will just use the reference of the previous CRE that was used in the past, and you will go on with developing your compliance data just using this reference to a previous CRE from a previous project, saving time for all of us. Just for you to know, we are publishing not only certification basis bits, but also our procedures. So if you want to have more details about CREs, the way they are raised, and what are our decision processes, on the bottom right of this slide, you will see the reference of this working instruction. So I am not saying it's easy reading and that's something you will enjoy reading, but you will find the details you're looking for. So this is a working instruction 146. And with having said that, I will give the microphone to you. Okay, again. So I give the mic back to Enzo.
So the main intent of this presentation is to communicate that we have realized that the strategy that we have developed through the years, which covers, I think, with a very comprehensive approach, all aspects of the problem, PED, fire on the flight deck, has to be explained probably in a more detailed manner. So the decision that has been taken is to release a certification memorandum to go through the history of the problem, explain why we have done certain things and what is the intent behind our policy, and provide additional insight on the major issues we have identified in these years of work. So the minimum content of the CM is going to be, of course, background definition for the CARI 2509, why we have published special conditions, what is the main intent of the special conditions, and also what is our position regarding the applicability of the special conditions to new projects. Of course, it's kind of obvious that for new type certification project, new models, we will introduce the special conditions straight away in the list of applicable requirements. It is more complicated to analyze the case of design changes which have an impact on the flight deck design or on the emergency procedures or on the layout of the emergency equipment. So this is what we want to explain in this certification memorandum. It was also somehow addressed in the CRD, in the comment response document we published together with the special conditions, that we would have to define new criteria for the applicability of the special conditions. In parallel, we are also making an effort to negotiate with TC holders the introduction of the special conditions in the sub-basis of already certified aircraft models. And the idea is that everything should converge at some point, and we would have solved the issue then, hopefully. Very important point, classification of design changes that affect this particular fire risk. So any change that is creating potential for using PEDs in the flight deck, so EFB mount installation, or any change that would affect stowage provisions in the flight deck, or relocation of emergency equipment, for us as a starting point is a major change, and this will be explained in this CM. Finally, the specific guidance applicable to EFB mounts, and how we intend to address the many approvals that have been processed in the last 10-15 years that would allow use of EFBs powered by lithium batteries in the flight deck of large airplanes. These installations have been approved with STCs, but we have also found many cases of minor changes, and we are trying to define a best, let's say, fit strategy to tackle this issue and do that with the minimum effort on both sides, so on our side and on the DOA side. The target for the publication of the proposed CM is early next year, so Q1 2025. Most of the material is already available, not controversial. We have a couple of topics with which we need management decisions, but this is going to be possibly resolved by the end of the year, and then we will proceed with the public consultation phase. What are the main findings that we have made working on this topic? So first of all, the special conditions are very straightforward. They start with the need to identify an emergency procedure for the battery PED battery fire in the flight deck. The second step is to have necessary equipment to deploy the procedure. It must be available in the flight deck or in near proximity to the flight deck. Third point is to have adequate training introduced for the subjects that have to deploy the procedure, so flight crew members, cabin crew members. Fourth point, if you want to allow stowage of PEDs during flight when they are not in use, the stowage compartments must be designed to withstand thermal runaway threat. This means also compatibility with the firefighting procedure, which, as you know, for battery fire involves extinguishing the flames using a handheld extinguisher and cooling the battery by pouring water or other equivalent liquid on the device. The last point is to mark stowage compartments that are suitable for use. So we have gone through a lot of discussions with various TC holders. Main findings are summarized here. The first one is that not always we have clear information to the operators about the storage facilities that could be used to store PEDs during flight when they are not in use. Of course, this could be addressed through placards or adequate training material. Second main finding is that donning fire gloves is considered essential to safely handle PEDs. Lots of procedures we have found, they kind of work in terms of logic, but they always start with, if possible, relocate PED. Now, how do you do that? You do it with your bare hands, or when they mention fire gloves, we have to consider fire gloves have not been required by EASA as part of the minimum set of emergency equipment that you need to have to comply with the certification requirements for large airplane certification. We have cases in which fire gloves are systematically installed, like I have in mind twin aisle airplanes. You always find a pair of fire gloves somewhere in the cabin, but they may be located at door 3 or door 4, and this is not a suitable location for an emergency in the flight deck. So the first thing that we are going to address is the location of the fire gloves, which is already addressed in the means of compliance part of the special condition. So we have a section means of compliance which relates to the emergency equipment, and we define what is acceptable in terms of location of fire gloves in particular. The second point that we have identified is that there is no definition of minimum performance standards for the fire gloves. So here is a trade-off between protection from injuries coming from contact with hot surfaces as opposed to ease of handling. You know, the thicker are the gloves, the more difficult it is to operate latches or handle the extinguishers. So it's again, it's very important for us to address both the protection from contact with the hot surfaces and also some kind of, to do it in a way that this does not impair ease of handling when fire gloves are donned. We are going to make clear that we do not accept fire containment bags as a primary means of firefighting. So the only usage that can be done of fire containment bags that are available on the market, that are advertised as very effective products, is to use them as an alternative to the bin you find in the lavatories. So when you pour water on the bin and you just submerge the device into water. The main problem is that the performance of fire containment bags is very difficult to demonstrate. We are working on standards that we can use to evaluate the fire containment performance of the bags that are advertised on the market. We are also running research projects, and I would like to mention that for the Loki PED project that EASA is running at the moment, we had a task which involved testing 9 fire containment bags. None of these bags has passed the test. So each bag has failed due to release of flames or fragments, explosions, very significant failures, not only in the initial phase of the test, but also in a, let's say, secondary phase of the thermal runaway event. So we had bags that, for example, in the first 5 minutes, they looked great, but then after 10 minutes, a second cell or third cell going in thermal runaway resulted in explosions that compromised the integrity of the bags. And of course, another very promising area, we don't want to say that fire containment bags are terrible by definition. It's just that together with the fire containment properties, you have to address the need to relocate the PED inside the bag. I don't know if you're familiar with the design, but some of these bags are designed like backpacks with latches, small latches, straps, all kind of combination of design solutions, and the preparation of the bag and ensuring that the configuration is appropriate to the fire containment, to facilitate the fire containment performance of the device. Of course, this is a big issue that at the moment is not addressed by any standard. In practice, we are trying to use fire containment bags as storage facilities. We have airplanes in which there is no storage compartment that could be suitable to contain fire containment, thermal runaway events. So the use of fire containment bags may be a good alternative for those airplane designs. In the big picture regarding fire containment bags, of course, if we go on with this, let's say, idea, which looks very promising, that fire containment bags may be used as storage facilities, we need to define an appropriate standard for testing. And our reference at the moment is the UL 5800. We are working to improve the standard. So we have started a discussion with the FAA to share experience, and we would like to propose joint comments to the UL to recommend improvements on many aspects of the standard. The other point that is important if we go on with this project is to address the release of smoke, because all bags that are likely to pass the test, they do it because they have some kind of means to vent smokes outside and reduce the pressure inside the bag. And depending on the battery that is powering the PED, the amount of smoke that could be released is critical. So we think that relocating the PED in a location where there is no occupant is probably the way to go. And this means you have to meet the part of the standard which requires limiting the temperature of fissures that could be touched during the relocation process, handles, latches, whatever device. And of course, the instructions on the use of the bags are a key point in addressing the configuration of the bag to ensure proper performance. So the next steps, just to go to the end of the presentation, release of the CM on PED battery fire on the flight deck. We would like to update the SIB to include a reference to the new CM, just in the background, because we mentioned the special conditions in the SIB, but of course, if we publish a CM, it makes sense to reference the CM. Update the certification memorandum on classification of design changes to cabin interiors of large airplanes to introduce an item dedicated to EFB mount installation. So EFB mount installation, no discussion, major change. Just to make it clear, and we save a lot of time in DOA audits. Then make progress on the definition of standard for fire containment bags, addressing both handling and fire containment performance. So, and of course, do that by using data that come from research and the LogiPED project. I think we will have a lot of findings and interesting results from this project. The report is due for publication in July 2025. So I really recommend you follow all the presentations we have been delivering in international meetings on this project, because it's really giving great results. Then the revision of the UL 5800 is going to be our, let's say, first step in this process, because we think we will have then at least a standard for fire containment. Definition of performance, minimum performance standards for fire containment gloves, possibly for inclusion in CS25 in AMCs or as a first step directly in the special condition. And identify any opportunity for safety promotion actions. So really ensure that there is a continuous flow of information to the stakeholders on what needs to be done to contribute to the effort of minimizing the risk that is coming from PED battery fire on the flight deck. Thank you for your attention.
So thank you, everyone. Enzo, there is a question for you. Just a moment. So will EASA accept specially designed fire containment compartments or waste compartment as adequate fire compartment performance? If so, what are the test conditions for those compartments or containers? Can we answer that just generically or not? Yes, I think we can do that. I try to be quick. So the special conditions already include our expectations for the definition of a thermal runaway event that could be used in the assessment of the performance of stowage compartments. I think the main problem is that the test done for fire containment to meet 853 is done with a completely different fire load. So to us, this does not make it to the level of performance we expect for battery fire containment. But what we have explained in the special conditions is that we will allow testing stowage compartments. We want to agree on the test conditions. We will discuss on the type of device that is going to be used to generate the thermal runaway event and the acceptance criteria for the test conditions, of course, and for the final results. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the time, so I will take the next two questions from Slido, and afterwards we'll need to go to the next presentation. So we have a question about the EASA making the latest version of all generic CREs visible to the public, generically speaking. Huh? So that's interesting because this is a question that comes each year consistently when we are talking about CRE. So I'm pleased to say that I'm not too surprised and that we are progressing on the matter. I have quickly mentioned the fact that everything that's part of the certification basis, so equivalent to a requirement, is published on our website. So equivalent safety findings, deviations, special conditions, systematically published and updated. So the latest versions as well. For the means of compliance interpretative material, the problem is that it's very often specific to a particular case for a particular applicant, so we don't systematically publish those. However, when a topic is of a generic nature, so we are not using generic CRI anywhere in our process landscape. If a topic is of a generic nature, it might end up in a certification memorandum or other type of publication, but it's taking more time and you're more likely to get a CRI quickly than to see that on our website. So there is no systematic publication of everything that will end up in a CRI, but we are working on this. And the second one is about what is the legal difference between master technical subject and the existing documentation, which is Book 2 of the CS, so acceptable means of compliance, guidance material, and all that. As I just said, what we are publishing systematically are the parts of the certification basis, so equivalent from the legal point of view to requirements. So that's the difference between AMC and those publications, because AMC's guidance material, CM, are not requirements. Those are explanations which are supposed to guide you in the right direction, but legally speaking, those are not requirements. This is a big difference. So thank you, Enzo. Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
We see you this afternoon again for the next group. And we will go over to the next presentation now. Thank you.
Thank you.